Deep dive. Okay, so if you've ever been cornered at a networking event or maybe, had a relative lean in and ask something just way too personal,
Oh, yeah.
we all know that sort of paralyzing moment.
Mm.
Today, we are dissecting that exact feeling,
Oh,
the sudden social ambush, and equipping ourselves with a counter strategy.
that's right. Our source material gives us this brilliant, really tangible framework for navigating these moments. It's the prepared one-liner.
The one-liner.
And the mission here isn't just like being defensive, it's about strategic control.
Right.
We're going to use this deep dive to look at 8 specific idiomatic phrases that just perfectly describe these tense dynamics, from the shock to, setting those graceful boundaries.
We're essentially learning a kind of linguistic self-defense. This isn't just about dodging a question.
Not at all.
It's about shifting the entire power dynamic in that exchange.
Mhm.
We're talking about the subtle art of the social redirect.
Oh.
So, okay, let's unpack this and jump right into that moment of vulnerability.
Let's start at the beginning of the attack,
So the narrator sets a scene that I think is just instantly recognizable.
the business dinner.
The business dinner. The setting's professional, things are civil, and then a colleague just breaches the social contract.
Yeah.
They lean in, and with no warning, they catch the narrator off guard with this loaded question.
And it's a doozy. I heard you just got divorced again. How are you holding up?
Oh,
Yeah. And that phrase, to catch off guard, it just perfectly describes that feeling, doesn't it? It's that intellectual whiplash, the shock.
it is.
When you're caught off guard, you haven't prepared your emotional or, your cognitive defenses. And that's exactly why these questions feel so powerful. They ambush you when you're mentally set for, appetizers and small talk.
And the internal reaction the narrator describes is so critical. They knew instantly that answering honestly wouldn't just be an answer. It would open a can of worms,
Yes.
a huge can of worms about the aftermath of my catastrophic second divorce.
To open a can of worms, what a perfect phrase for the danger here. It means you're creating a situation that is just far more complicated and messy than you ever anticipated.
It's not one thing.
No, it's not just one painful fact. It's a cascade of interconnected issues. By answering that simple-sounding question, you're basically inviting them into this sprawling, messy story that you definitely did not consent to share.
And the stakes are so clear. The narrator desperately didn't want to air their dirty laundry in public.
Mm-hmm.
They realized if they went down that honest path, they'd be exposing private, maybe embarrassing details to professional colleagues.
And that's the specific fear of that high-stakes environment. To air dirty laundry in public is all about revealing those shameful private matters right where they can do the most damage.
In front of your peers or clients.
Or your boss. And the narrator lists those 3 immediate, gut reactions they wanted to avoid.
Cowering, lashing out, or just having a total public breakdown.
Right, throwing the martini. And the key takeaway here is that the one-liner is designed to prevent all 3 of those outcomes. It's the armor that lets you sidestep the trauma.
Exactly. Avoiding what the source calls the big T trauma of the whole split.
So let's get into the mechanics, the actual strategy.
Okay, so instead of getting trapped, the narrator deployed their prepared line. And the counter move was this wonderful, almost jarring pivot.
What was it, yeah?
Hasn't this year been wild? I just started playing volleyball at my age. Can you believe it?
It's so good.
It's brilliant.
Because that is the core skill.
Mm.
The ability to deflect a question quickly and gracefully. To deflect is to literally, turn something aside.
And look at the structure.
Yeah, they acknowledge the moment with a neutral transition wild year. Then they immediately introduce a totally new, positive, irrelevant fact volleyball.
And then they offer a new conversational hook.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? So now the other person has something else to talk about.
It's a masterclass in redirection. But the narrator notes that even when doing this, they had to tread carefully.
Right, so they didn't accidentally touch a sore spot. And in this case, it was their own trauma.
Exactly. To tread carefully means proceeding with caution in a potentially difficult or perilous situation. They had to be mindful that even in defending their boundary, they didn't trigger their own emotional reaction.
And accidentally slip into the very details they were trying to avoid.
Which is the double threat of these questions, isn't it? They risk making you touch a sore spot.
Which is, by definition, a sensitive issue that's just easily agitated.
So the prepared line acts as a buffer. It protects you from the rude question, but it also, in a way, protects you from yourself.
That's a great way to put it. It externalizes the boundary.
And then the strategy is so effective that it goes way beyond just emotional topics. The source applies the exact same technique to financial inclusion.
Oh, people who love to pry into personal finances.
Yes, we all know one.
Those invasive questions like, can I borrow money? Or the classic, so how much do you make?
To pry into something is to inquire too closely, almost obsessively, into someone's private affairs. It's invasive.
It violates a social contract.
It does. And the prepared defense here is so precise. The line they suggest is, I never discuss financial matters after 3 p.m., or before dark, or without my accountant present.
I love that. What's so interesting is the balance there. Why is using a specific, almost arbitrary rule like the 3 p.m. rule so much stronger than just saying, that's private?
Well, that's where the strategic genius is. If you say that's private, you're sort of admitting it's a vulnerability that needs shielding.
You're putting up a wall.
You are. But if you say, I never discuss money without my accountant present, you're projecting competence and formality.
Okay.
You shifted the focus. The question isn't painful anymore. It's just inconvenient due to a pre-existing professional rule. It shifts the burden of awkwardness completely onto the person who decided to pry.
Which brings us perfectly to the mindset behind all this. The source really emphasizes that the goal is not to get on the defensive.
And avoiding that defensive posture is absolutely crucial for maintaining control.
Why is that so important?
Because getting on the defensive implies you're vulnerable. It means you're focused on protecting yourself from an attack, which subconsciously, it actually validates the intruder's behavior.
It's like you're admitting they landed a punch.
Exactly. They successfully put you on the back foot. The one-liner, though, is proactive. It's a mechanism for an immediate, subtle power reversal.
It's the difference between flinching and just standing still.
Precisely. You communicate that they've crossed into personal territory, but you do it with this grounded confidence. And that keeps the conversation from, wilting or getting hostile.
The social exchange can actually continue, just on safer terms.
Right. And for anyone listening who wants to, build this mental arsenal for themselves, the source gives some really actionable advice.
The Post-it notes.
The Post-it notes. Scribble down lines, revisit them, edit them so they sound like you. It's not just script writing. The source calls it an exercise in personal therapy.
It is therapy, isn't it? Because it forces you to define your own boundaries.
You're figuring out ahead of time what parts of your life you're willing to share and what parts you want to keep private.
And this is especially helpful for what the source calls the pronounced extrovert.
The person who craves conversation but is just amazed that people feel owed private information all the time.
Right. The prepared line offers center, grounding. It's equipment for navigating that conflict.
And while we've focused so much on defense, the one-liner is also a really effective tool for offense.
Or maybe a better word is initiating conversation. A starter.
A starter, yes. The source mentions the classic style for flirting or light social interaction.
I bet everyone's been complimenting your glasses tonight.
Exactly. A
Right.
low-stakes opening. But more strategically, you can use these lines for a kind of controlled provocation, asking questions designed to create depth.
Like, if you could have any dinner guest, who would it be and why?
Or, if you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be?
So using a one-liner for offense means you're testing the waters. You're seeing if the other person is willing to go deep with you.
Exactly. You're opening a controlled can of worms, not an accidental one.
I like that.
But, and this is a key warning from the source that brings it all full circle, if you ask a deep, gritty question,
Like why their last relationship ended.
you have to be prepared to be met with a deflecting one-liner in return. The power dynamic is always shifting.
Right. If you choose to pry into their history, you might just get successfully deflected right back to small talk because they have their own prepared defense.
It makes social interaction feel less like a minefield and more like, a strategy game that you're actually prepared to play.
So, to sort of wrap this all up, today we've learned how powerful a simple, well-prepared phrase can be. It's the tactical difference between feeling caught off guard and, gracefully using a redirect to deflect a question before you're forced to air dirty laundry or open a can of worms.
The whole point is to tread carefully around those vulnerable areas.
Right, to prevent others from trying to pry into private matters and to make sure you never feel like you have to get on the defensive just because someone tried to touch a sore spot.
What's so fascinating to me here is how the one-liner shifts the whole concept of privacy. It's not a locked box anymore. It's more like a selectively opened vault.
I love that analogy.
And that's the ultimate takeaway. Recognizing that you decide what facts you want to share and which ones you want to keep private. The one-liner is just the immediate tool for that control.
So if building this arsenal of one-liners is a form of personal therapy, defining your boundaries, here's a final thought for you to mull over. What is the most personal question you struggle with? And what is the one quick, confident, volleyball-style pivot you'll use to deflect it next time? Something to think about until our next deep dive.